Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Grace Pathway Podcast. My name is Matt Roberts. I'm your host. We're glad that you're joining, and make sure you hit that subscribe button or like this video. We want to know what God's using this for, and we're grateful for this opportunity to continue to share stories of God's grace here at Pathway Church in Redding, California. And today, I've invited a new friend of mine, Paul Barringtold, to come and share your story. Welcome to the space. How's it feel to be on? You doing okay?
It feels great.
Awesome. You look good. You got a good announcer voice. I was just commenting earlier, like, you should do baseball announcing.
My head's puffing up.
There you go. I love it. No, I appreciate you. A little bit about where I met you. We had just started doing these Grace Pathway podcasts, stories, and one of the guys who was on, Jim McCoy, came up to me and he was like, "You've got to get together with Paul." And I said, "Okay." He's like, "After service, I'm going to come introduce you." And I said, "Great." And so Sundays are always crazy. Everyone's hustling and bustling and getting their kids picked up, getting their coffee orders. Got to get those coffee orders. And you came up and I'm like, "Let's find time." And I asked him, like, "Why don't you just write down your story?" And you did. And the next day you showed up at church with it. And I got to read it, and I was blown away. And then I got to find time to have conversations and go out for coffee and even further the conversation. So I'm excited for everyone today who's tuning in to get to hear a little bit about your journey. But Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know where would you consider home originally for you?
Home, I was born in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
And
East Coast.
Grew up there, East Coast. Went to college, University of Maryland.
Okay.
And I stayed there for a while. In my early 30s, I moved to California.
Okay.
I had lost a job and unfortunately gone through a divorce and decided to go west, young man, as Horace Greeley said.
Yes.
And I moved to the West Coast, initially the Monterey Bay area.
Okay.
Lived in Santa Cruz area for a little bit.
Beautiful area.
Yes, then moved to L.A., which was quite a shock, although I'm from a big city.
Yeah.
Spent 6 years there, moved up to San Jose in the Bay Area, and eventually Lodi, where I retired.
Wow. And then what brought you to Redding, California, of all places, to land up? You're here in Redding, California.
It wasn't at the top of my list, to be candid.
Honesty,
I
that's
had been
great.
here once or twice. My wife had some roots here.
Okay.
She had spent 20-some years living here, although not originally from here.
Okay.
And she had a circle of friends, and we both kind of retired. We're living up in the foothills by Jackson, California.
Yeah.
She was missing her friends, and her mom lives in Medford, which is only a couple hours from here.
Right.
Anyway, we made the decision to move to Redding.
Okay. Yeah. What year was that you guys made the decision?
2016.
Okay. So 2016, you moved to Redding, you and your wife, closer to friends, near family.
Yes.
And you got grandkids and daughter and kids down in the Bay Area.
Bay
so kind of
Area,
a central zone.
Exactly.
Okay, smart.
Exactly. Also, my brother-in-law and his wife live here.
Oh,
so,
okay. So there are some family ties here.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And how long was it after you moved here that you then made your way to Pathway?
Oh, my gosh. We've been coming to Pathway now, not quite a year, I guess.
Yeah.
And we had bounced around to some different churches.
Sure.
I was brought up as a Lutheran.
Okay, so you were raised in a Christian home.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that staying raised as a Lutheran, raised in a Christian home, that can take on many different looks and shapes for people. Was it something that you wanted to go, or was it like, we're going dressed to the nine, like shirt and tie? Like church is what we do as a family. We always go.
I was more of a casual Christian.
Okay.
We would go once in a while. We really didn't have a church home.
Okay.
And actually, we had started going to another church in town here with some friends, a couple we know. And they called us one day and said, "We went to this fantastic church. You guys got to go. Pathway."
Oh.
And we said, "Sure, why not?" And my wife and I both, we walked in the door, and honestly, you could feel the love coming through the door. people were friendly, and loved the service.
Sure.
You know, the Lutheran church I went to for a number of years, they had what I would call a praise and worship service, you know.
Sure.
A little more modern music and the message, and it just fit right in.
Mm. So you come and you said you felt the love. Was that new for you?
Yeah. I'm not trying to knock other churches, but
Sure.
there's a feeling you get here that I hadn't really felt before. It just felt right.
Okay.
You know, I truly believe God led us here.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
So you were casual Christian. When did you say I'm putting my faith in Jesus though? Was that like early on when you were a child? Did it like start to sink in later on in life? What was that time for you?
Much later in life, and when I came to Pathway.
Really? Okay, let's go there then. Let's talk about that moment, because I know you described it to me as like an aha moment.
Yes, it was.
So you come to Pathway, you walk in. It's you felt loved. You enjoyed worship. You enjoyed Pastor Bill's sermons.
Oh, absolutely.
And then where do you go from there? Because it's a big church. Oftentimes we hear it's so big. There's no place for me to get connected.
Yeah.
What about for you guys?
Actually, we were looking to do that, and we saw the Reengage class,
Okay.
and we thought, gee, this looks like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
So we got involved with that.
And Pastor Josh and the marriage team. And
Yes,
yeah, okay.
yes, and everyone was just fantastic. It was during the Reengage class, I got to know Jim McCoy, and his wife, and we talked about a number of things in there. We talked about baptism, and I had been baptized as an infant.
Right.
And we were also talking about, we started talking about that aha moment, being saved, or when did you know you were saved?
Right.
And, you know, I said I don't know that I could pick a specific moment. You know, I don't think I'd ever really felt that. And quite honestly, going to church at times was more mechanical than anything.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to say that, but
no, I mean that's real.
It's,
I mean you're going, which is great. But if it's just kind of falling on deaf ears, is it taking root? Are you really applying what's being a
yeah. I didn't really feel about my faith the way I do now. And it's quite amazing, to be honest.
So what was that moment like for you? What was the aha moment?
And let me give you a little bit of background.
Yeah, please do.
Because it happened over actually the space of 2 days. We were getting ready to go to Reengage one night. My wife and I were getting ready, and the Bible I'd been using had kind of small print. And I said, "Do we have any Bibles around?" You know. She goes, "Oh, yeah, there's a box of them up on the bookshelf." So I went up there and got the box down, and in it was my grandfather's Bible. He was a very Christian man, religious man, salt of the earth.
Sure.
And my mom's Bible was in there, and I thought, gee, you know, I'd forgotten I had them. I hadn't seen them in 10 years. So I had kind of a warm feeling from it, needless to say. That night we went to bed, and my wife was having some problems sleeping. I was sleeping, and I woke up about 3:30 in the morning, and I was thinking about baptism. And I remembered my late brother had been baptized as an adult. And I felt the need to get up and tell my wife. I says, I think I want to get baptized again.
Wow.
And she thought, great, that's fantastic. Went back to sleep. And I've had a recurring problem with some nightmares, being attacked in my sleep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long was that going on for?
For 5-6 years.
Wow. Okay.
Not every night, but enough frequency that it really disturbed me.
Yeah.
It disturbed her, because there's her husband flailing in bed at times.
Yeah.
And I started having one of these episodes about 4:30 in the morning. And I woke up, and I said to myself, I can't take this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And I got on my knees, which I rarely, if ever, have done in prayer. And I opened my heart and I said, God, I need your help. I need Jesus in my life. Let him come into my life, into my heart. And it was at that point that, pardon me for being a little emotional, but it's still emotional.
That's your story. It's powerful.
I felt a calm and a peace and a serenity that I've never felt before. I mean, it was far beyond anything I would have imagined.
Wow.
And just this glow and this thought. And actually, what really hit me was how easy and simple it was. Yeah, I couldn't, all these years, I was almost stunned. And all I had to do was open my heart, open the door, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, what's the passion say? I mean, he's standing at the door, knocking. It's as simple as just opening the door.
Come in.
And yet sometimes we tend to, I know I overcomplicated it. I'm like, that can't be it. Where are the strings attached?
Exactly.
You know, but I love that. So on your
and
knees.
I told my wife, and we both cried a little bit.
Yeah. What a powerful moment.
It was. And I think you and I talked earlier. My Christian faith, if you look at faith as an ocean, I was probably snorkeling along, and now I'm a deep sea diver.
Yeah, that's so good.
I'm learning. I dig into Scripture. I'm more conscious of God in my life. I see His presence now and then. When I used to say, "Oh, that's just a coincidence," no, it wasn't.
Yeah. You start. I think the more you recognize, the more you have the faith to recognize and have the awareness like that of God moving, God doing things, and His Spirit is very active to this day. The more we don't associate with coincidence.
Exactly.
And the more it's like oh, God, you're doing something. And
you just see it works in little ways.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you start noticing it.
That's so good. I love that analogy you used of, so as a young Christian, I was snorkeling up at the top surface level, and now I'm deep sea diving into my faith. Like, that's such a cool image because I've never deep dove, but I've only snorkeled, but I can imagine it's a different, you get to see things differently. It's a different experience. It's powerful.
And it's a deep ocean.
And it's a deep ocean, Paul. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it kind of never ending.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you're on your knees, you have this moment, you tell your wife, you're crying, and the night terrors,
they have diminished.
Wow.
Oh, and before I forget it, in this moment, my grandfather was kind of involved. My mom was kind of involved.
Yeah.
My brother was kind of involved. And I remembered the date was September 18th. That was my parents' anniversary date.
Wow.
And boy, everything just fell into place.
Yeah, what a coincidence, right?
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have an occasional, but I can probably count on one hand since September.
Wow.
And it's something I work at. I still pray about.
Yeah.
And I also know that faith is a journey. It's not an easy journey.
No.
But it's one that I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
And willing to take.
That's right. I mean, Paul talks about it in his script, in the Bible. He talks about I consider everything else nothing compared to the gain of knowing Christ.
Yes.
Right? And I think that is really true. I love that you got to experience an aha moment that is so real, that line up on your parents' anniversary, the Bibles, the parent, the grand, all of it. Just and now you're going to get baptized.
Yes, absolutely. My wife and I both.
Oh, this is good. I mean, what a day that's going to be cool to just celebrate. I mean, we talk about baptism all the time. Like, it's one of the analogies we use for baptism is it's like a wedding ring. It's like no one can take away what God has done in your life. But a wedding ring it shows to everybody else that this is the symbol for what I put my faith in.
Yeah.
Baptism is our symbol for what we are doing with our
Yeah.
lives as followers of Jesus. Of like,
Yeah.
this is the person who I'm going to follow with everything in me. And I love that you get a chance to get baptized with your wife. What a cool moment.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. And I'm looking forward to actually getting more involved here.
Yeah.
Doing this small groups right
Yeah.
now, and that's very interesting, a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, I love that. I mean, I love it because you haven't even been here a year at Pathway, but you've gone through Reengage. You've had your aha moment. You signed up to get baptized. You're jumping into small group.
Also did Unstuck,
And
which
you did
was
Unstuck.
wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Shout out to Unstuck. I mean, we've had a few people on here that have mentioned going through Unstuck and just the powerful journey it is.
Yeah.
Of, I think, really just shedding the fear of being truly seen and known and not experiencing the shame of our past, but allowing the pain to not define us, but to let Jesus define who you and I are. And there's power in that.
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Getting rid of pride. Someone would have told me a couple years ago, well, you're going to be going to an evangelical church. I wouldn't have laughed, but I says, oh, no.
Right.
I'm kind of a traditional guy.
Right.
Boy, did I change. And fast.
And fast. That's right. I love that. What would you, one of my favorite questions I get to ask people is, being someone, I mean, you told me your age. I won't shout it out but you look really good for your age. What would you say to somebody who is maybe in a different stage of life? Maybe they're younger. Maybe they have a family. Maybe they're in their young adults. Maybe they're a high school student, and maybe they've been doing the surface snorkeling.
Yeah.
How would you encourage them? What would you say to them? And what would you say to them?
That's a question that's tough for me at times because I haven't done it that much.
Sure.
Now I'm at a point where I will talk to people. Where you go to church? And I go to a commercial gym, and I've met a couple of guys who go to Pathway there and had no idea.
Wow.
No idea. I think it's a matter of telling people, just open up, open your heart, relax, let God in.
Yeah, it's simple.
Yeah, it is. It's simple.
Yeah, yeah. Why do you think we feel like it's not simple?
I think we get a little overburdened with life and complications of life, and I did this and that, and I don't think God's going to like that, and I haven't done enough, and I haven't brought enough people into faith.
Sure. Yeah. Even the good stuff of like wanting to tell people about God and like, well, I haven't done enough evangelical, or I haven't saved anybody recently, or I haven't prayed enough, or even the good stuff, we can find shame and guilt, and I feel like that is how the devil works. He just is sneaky, and he
is he?
And he the idea of the fear of shame, the fear of failure, the fear of all of it can just hinder you and hinder anybody on a journey of. That's why I love that. I feel like if it wasn't simple. And grace isn't simple. Grace is complex, but the invitation to grace is so easy that it's like, why would not everybody do this?
Why didn't I do this before?
Yeah.
I think self-worth has a lot to do with it too. Well, I'm not worthy, or I'm not looking forward to meeting St. Peter.
Yep. Because compared to him,
oh boy.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's just knowing that you're forgiven, that you're saved.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just makes everything kind of inconsequential.
I love that you said it's just like, just be quicker to recognize it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard to get saved. There is a cost and there is a realness of it. This world is not in favor of Christians. It's not in favor of people who are sold out for Jesus.
No.
However, that's why there's a reliance, a full dependence on God for that strength to navigate every day. But, like we've been learning with, Paul and other things of like, it doesn't matter necessarily our circumstances when we have heaven as our destination, and we have
Yes.
and we have Jesus in our mirror, behind us, ahead of us, around us, the Holy Spirit living in us. Like, we're good when we have our faith in Jesus.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's so good. Well, Paul, thank you. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to witness.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's such a power in stories. There's a power in personal testimonies, because if it doesn't mean something for you, then I feel like people can, if they can, so maybe phrase that, if people can experience the realness that you are experiencing, and they see it happen first in your life, wow, I can relate because I've dealt with that. It must be real because I know him and I know what he was like before. And now, it's just power in a personal testimony. And so, Paul, thank you for taking time. Thanks for jumping on the Grace Pathway podcast, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.